Hello, this video is a short overview and introduction to the editorial analysis assignment, which is part of our larger research project. So I am currently in the major writing assignments folder for composition 2. You can see that right here. There will be a link in the various weeks that we introduce this. There's not a lot in the op-ed or op-ed section. It just talks about the idea of this assignment is you're comparing two editorials or opinion pieces that have opposing viewpoints. It can even be letters to the editors. The idea is to interact with the different arguments that exist on your topic. So we're writing an informative, interesting piece on our controversial issue that mediates between the two, chooses one side over another, or shows how both are in error. The idea is that you're going to break down these two arguments, compare the different sides, and then come up with a conclusion. And that can conclusion be, I'm sorry, that was a weird saying. That conclusion can be really anything, but I think this highlights the different outcomes. So I've taken some of this and I've just posted this back in the research project folder that will be right down here. So the instructions, and I can't type, but I'll fix that later. And I'll also include this idea. But we're here to try to interact with our sources a little bit more in depth than you are with your research, because somebody's going to make a counterclaim. We don't get to just say, oh, that jerk, you don't know anything, I'm just going to ignore you. We have to be able to refute those arguments. So maybe you already have some different opposing sides in your research, but if you don't, I'm going to show you how to get that. We go into the Edison library, we go into the databases. You got to go over here and you click on the SIRS Researcher. It stands for Sears Researcher. Not all of you are going to have the availability to do this, but you might. It really depends on kind of your topic and the depth. So let's say you want to look at something within mental health. Several of you are looking at that, so I'm just picking that as a random topic. What we get are some various viewpoints right here. Now you can select two of these. Here's one on coronavirus. So they're updating regularly. Mental health and sports, coming out about mental health and social media. So there's some different types of opposing arguments that might help you do this assignment. So you click a viewpoint 1, and okay, so you can take that, you read this, and then, all right, well, I've got one side of an argument, and then you can come back and pick the other side. You will need to cite these, but we're really just interacting with these two different sources. In addition, there's some other things like mental depression, so you can click on that. It's going to take you again to some different viewpoints. This is good because it gives you a little summary of the issue, but then we have, again, two different sides that we can argue back and forth. This is about antidepressants. So this is helpful for you to kind of start to look through. SRS Researcher has a lot of good broad topics, so maybe you've already used this, but you can start to look through things. So here's one on the police. Some of you are looking at police reform in the wake of the Black Lives Matter movement. So nothing necessarily regarding Black Lives Matters, but if you're looking at that, you can come down here. This might help. Racial profiling. You can start looking at these different arguments. Is there a problem? So that's how we start to build these into our topics. You got to look around, but see what you can find. In addition, you could also use opposing viewpoints. Nope, that's the wrong one. So you got to sign in for that. Let me try this again. Finally found my library card number, so I'm able to just enter that in. So you'll enter it in. I always like to save the password. So you get opposing viewpoints as well. It's very similar to the SRS Researcher. Let us see something. So law and politics, a lot of you are looking at a lot of different things within policies. So let us look at, okay, a lot of you are looking at human trafficking. So here we have some different viewpoints. This doesn't set you up with an easy back and forth. Instead, you got to look for similar titles. So here we have why laws on sex trafficking often backfire. So you can look at these featured viewpoints and start breaking down what's going on. Targeting few websites will not reduce it. So we have some different articles that we can start to look at, and you want to make sure that they're arguing the same thing. That's the main problem with the opposing viewpoints, is that you have to look at how these are related, that they're arguing about the same thing. Because if you're trying to compare two articles that are talking about different things, that you're not really getting an accurate comparison. So look around. Maybe you already have two articles, and that is just fine in itself. I'm pulling up the example paper. This is example 2, which has an editorial analysis built into it. So make sure you look at this. We have an introductory phrase right in here. Then we tell the two articles, right? So David Borden's article this, and then Kevin Sabat's article called this. What their main claim is, and then who makes the better argument. Here's an important thing to remember, and I wrote this in the description, but sometimes the best argument, it goes against what you actually want to argue, and that is okay. We have to look at how an argument's made, what information's not there, what fallacies are made, all those sorts of things. So go through this, see how these authors in the examples break down the two arguments. They need to summarize what are their main claims, and then show how one is better. So here we are. The truth is that statistics show these programs not work, and that they are simply a desperate attempt to quell a problem that's already gotten out of control, right? So here this student author is directly contradicting or challenging these authors, which is great. I want you to do that. So read through these examples, see how they work. It's not terribly long. It's only 2.5 pages, roughly, almost 3. So just under 1,000 words. So try to get something like that. So that is the editorial analysis. If you have questions, please make sure you contact me.